This is actually my first episode.
Well, I'm honoured.
No, I appreciate it, yeah. I actually only got the kind of inception of the idea at the start of December.
Right.
It had been at the back of my mind for a couple of years. And
What drove it?
I think I'd always enjoyed speaking to people.
Yeah.
Regardless of what their background is, what they're into, it mightn't even be into something that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
But when I see someone who's passionate about something, that sparks that kind of childish curiosity in me.
Yeah, I get you.
And then I joined Toastmasters last year.
Yeah.
Because I'd always kind of struggled with, in college doing presentations, and everyone has that fear of humiliation.
Yeah.
And fear of public speaking. So I think that definitely helped piggyback me into actually having the confidence to say, fuck it, I do like speaking to people.
Yeah.
Why not try to kind of bring a bit of art into it and
Wonderful.
create something,
Wonderful, yeah.
And I think that's kind of what, drew me to your story as well.
Sure. I mean, it's been an amazing run. I mean, who'd have thought? I mean, you talk about speaking in public and stuff. Like, I've kind of been thrust into the limelight with this.
Yeah.
Now I'm lucky enough, I wouldn't say lucky, but I remember when I was a kid, like, I was incredibly shy, very, very shy, very nervous, bullied quite heavily in school, just badly broke down from that. And anything speaking in public or having to do anything in public, I hated it. Passionately hated the idea of it. But I'm lucky enough that just through friends, I got into playing music when I was 14. And through music and through the playing of that and standing up on stage, took a lot of the fear of performance, because when you're speaking, it is a performance. And especially, like, I found that, especially with the background of having music, that that when you're speaking and when you're public speaking, you're not just speaking, you're entertaining people. Yeah. And that's a very important thing that a lot of people don't think about. Yeah. That you have to be entertaining. And I found that if you approach public speaking with that in mind, with passion in mind, and with entertainment in mind, you're already more than halfway there.
Sure.
Because people, if you speak about something passionately, and we've spoken about this already, if you speak about something passionately, no matter what it is, if it's changing the fucking wheel of a car, if you speak about it with passion, people will listen to you.
Yeah.
And that, I don't mean passion. A lot of times online I find with people as well is sometimes whoever shouts the loudest gets listened to the most.
Yeah.
But it's not about being loud or brash or aggressive. It's speaking about something that truly means something to you.
Yeah.
And be able to iterate that and be able to just get that out of you.
Yeah.
And once you can do that, people react to it. And that's what's happened over the past, I suppose, especially over the past 18 months. Really, I've only started doing this 4 years ago.
Yeah.
But over the past 18 months, it has become a culture reborn, I suppose. It's become a culture that's come back. And it's the most simple, basic thing, but it's not when you get into it, like anything,
Yeah. On the surface, it kind of comes across as they're like primal, kind of, you might get people throwing stuff out there saying, who's this lunatic?
Yeah, oh God.
And I mean, but even in the documentary, I'm not able to stream it from the Middle East because of the region locking. You can if you pay for the VPN, and then you get the Irish one, because you can't get the Irish one, the free one.
Yeah.
But I've seen a bit of it when I flew into my mate's house, and at the start you hear one of the guys in the documentary saying, "Jeez, I thought, who's this nut job?" And then, but then he starts to then talk through his thought process of once he actually got to see more depth and you were serious about it.
Yeah.
He said, I was getting texts off him and he was actually sending me pictures saying, I'm looking for this stone, here it is. And he was like, okay, he's onto something here. He's not just...
Yeah, that's the wonderful Dr. Conor Heffernan. And Conor was one of my main influences actually when I began looking for these. Because when I went looking for this first, the culture of stone lifting in Ireland, like, there wasn't anything online about it. Yeah. There was nothing written anywhere about it. Yeah. And that was the fascinating part. It's like, how would you go looking for something that you can't have any written sources about it? Where'd you search for a lost culture? Yeah. Where'd you begin to study? So, like, I started looking through Conor. Conor wrote a piece called The 19th Century Strength in Ireland, and it heavily talked about stone lifting. Yeah. It talked about all kinds of feats of strength, but stone lifting was a very big part of this treatise he wrote online. So when I Googled Irish stone lifting, because what else does anybody do when you Google something? I Googled Irish stone lifting, and that was the one thing that came up.
Okay.
And he spoke about this thing called Dukas, and he spoke about the Liam O'Flaherty story called The Stone.
Yeah.
And it kind of all went from there.
Yeah.
You know, but like it's mad like we full circle having him on the documentary because it was literally he wrote that about 12 years ago.
Okay.
And it was the only thing written about stone lifting in Ireland that was online. And I'm sure there's lots of other stuff written, but I haven't found a lot of it. You know, I've been digging deep for it. But it's mad that like he was this guy who I looked up to, who was my inspiration, and now he's speaking about me on the documentary.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But it's amazing. Like it's become the last 3 or 4 years has become make your heroes your friends almost.
Yeah.
It's been amazing.
Yeah. Because
You know?
there's the old adage, never meet your heroes, but in this case, it's the kind of contrary.
It is the contrary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You met some people. I mean, I sat down with my friend Patrick, my oldest friend, and we sat down about 4 years ago when I began this journey, and he was like, "This is fucking fascinating." You know, I'd love. You know, who would you love to talk to about this? And I was like, "Oh Jesus! Like, who would be your top three? You know, just put it out there. Who's your top three?" And I was like, Mancon, Megan, Blind Boy, Tommy Tiernan, and I said I'd probably put in Eddie Lenihan in there as well. And I've been lucky enough that I spoke with every single one of them gentlemen over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
I didn't get to speak face to face with Mancon, but I got to speak face to face with the other three. You know, and that was like wildest dreams territory.
Yeah. That's
never going to happen.
Yeah. It's unattainable.
You know what I mean? It's like saying, who's your favourite person to talk about the thing you're passionate about? Like say, I'm into football. Oh, I want to talk to fucking Messi. I want to talk to Ronaldo. And you know what I mean? And it's like, it's mad talk and it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
But it happened.
Yeah.
And it happened pretty quickly. You know, and I just found that it has been very mentally jarring, I suppose, to go from zero to fucking hero almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're living a double life. And that's hard to juggle.
Yeah.
I don't mind fucking saying.
Yeah, because I guess you could throw in imposter syndrome in there. I know some people usually say, "Oh, who are you to say that you've imposter syndrome? You're not famous." You know, they'd say that to anyone, but anyone can have it. It doesn't mean you have to be, you know, a public figure.
Yeah.
But it's,
But it did. I mean, the first time imposter syndrome came into me big time was I was invited up to UCD up to do a podcast called Blerini Bailadish, which is the UCD Folklore Fragments podcast. Okay. With Johnny Dillon, who'll be the head of the National Folklore Collection. So, I mean, he's had on Mancon, he's had on Eddie, he's had on all these professors and doctors and all these wonderfully lauded and respected people. And then I go up thinking to myself, I work in a shop, what am I doing here? I'm sitting in the car going, do I even want to go in here? I'm going to embarrass myself. But then you think, no, I've done something in my own spare time that I think has worth more so than my own ego. You know what I mean? So I think I should speak about this. So I went in, and of course it was all just nonsense that you made up in your head. Incredibly welcoming. We had a great chat. And it started off, I suppose, the ball rolling big time, you know? That was about 2.5 years ago now.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you have someone like that who is the head of this massive folklore collection, which is like he says in the documentary, it's the tabernacle to who we are. You know, it's a treasure trove of who we are as a people. When you have this person who's spoken to all these people, who wants to speak to you, that kind of made me think then, this is okay, I can talk about this stuff now. You know what I mean? I know I'm not an academic. That's going to change. I've applied for my doctorate.
Great.
But I mean, I'm not an academic now, but what I've done is, it just goes to show you that like an ordinary man can do something spectacular if you want to. What's stopping you? The only thing stopping you is yourself. Like I said, your own imposter syndrome and your own thoughts. But it's like, no, you can go out and do something big. What the fuck is stopping you?
Yeah.
You know, you'll always have people try and tear you down, but this is people. That's just people are going to do that anyway.
I think they're just projecting their own insecurities.
That's exactly what it is.
And the fear of, they're like, well, I'm not
how dare you?
Courageous enough to do that. So
how dare you stick your head above the parapet?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But unfortunately, like Blind Boy was saying, once you stick your head above the parapet, people are going to shoot at you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But it's just to have the belief in yourself that that's okay.
Yeah.
There will be, but there will be a lot of people who will support you too.
Yeah, there'll be cynicism. And
that happens.
It's just kind of human nature.
It's human nature,
I think
exactly.
You'd even find, I'd catch myself sometimes getting those feelings coming up. It's probably a little bit of envy, and then you have to catch yourself and be like, no, good for them.
Good for them, exactly.
I'm jealous.
Yeah.
I'm noticing that I'm jealous.
Yeah.
At least I'm getting it out there. Otherwise, it kind of manifests itself in other, maybe passive aggressive or writing stuff online or, so, yeah.
But that happens.
Yeah.
That's just human nature. But once you can catch yourself and you're aware of that.
Yeah.
That's an important thing too.
Yeah, because that's, I guess, the mindfulness aspect of it. You're kind of cognizant of your own thought processes. Yeah.
That's a very, very important thing. You know, a lot of people aren't.
No. I guess that comes from like CBT, which is something that I, in the last couple of years, kind of delved into a good bit.
Okay.
Personally and just research-wise, but also with an actual, I saw someone who specializes in cognitive behavioral therapy, and I found it very helpful. It just helps you dig through those thoughts and kind of unpack them.
Yes.
In front of
It's
you.
an important skill. I mean, and whatever lane you want to take it through, but you want to do that through yoga or do it through meditation or through whatever way you want to do it.
Yeah.
Once you have a way of sitting down and processing, because everything nowadays is so immediate and everything is so always in your face now. You don't switch off at all.
Yeah.
There's no time to think because you're getting bombarded all over the place from all angles.
Yeah.
It's constant. I was aware of it today. I was in work and like the radio was on. You're on your phone. There's people, and you're just constantly bombarded all. And you're going home. You're wondering why you're stressed. And why you're tired. And why you've no energy levels. Because you don't have time to stop and think. Just to give yourself 10 to 15 minutes a day, like I said, of that, just to sit down and think. And whether you do that through exercise. Some people, like I used to do a lot of running, and I solved a lot of problems on the road. You go out. I used to go out with no music and just go out and run and breathe. And once you get into that flow state, you solve a lot of problems.
It's
you
great.
come home, and it's not just your body's got to work out. Your mind has a chance to think away from all of this noise. You have a chance to think about it. And I do miss that. It's called runner's high, I suppose, for a reason. I've gone into a different lane of training now, but you still have to be mindful of that as well. So like I said, I think exercise is a great antidepressant that way.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. I haven't had the pleasure of getting runner's high yet because I don't run enough. And I'm in that kind of category where it's like, how do people get runner's high? I'm like, this is.
But it's like once you get into flow with anything,
I
think flow state is the important thing. Whether you get that through art or through any kind of
it just kind of
process.
clicks.
Then it's just our music, and I'm lucky enough that I do all of that. So I've all these wonderful outlets. Like I've played music my whole life, and once you can just sit down and play, like I love putting on some blues music and just play. And it's you go away somewhere else.
It's just you and that.
That's
in the
it.
moment. There's nothing else. There's none of those intrusive thoughts.
No, and like I said, you can do that through exercise, through art, through music, through meditation, through yoga. But it's just find your thing. Find your thing you like and just explore that. And turn off the fucking phone for a half hour.
Yeah. No, it's. I kind of feel sorry for people who don't have that outlet.
So do I.
They just use the phone to escape and scroll, doom scrolling.
But there's nothing creative in that.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
There's no creativity in that.
No.
It's like I'm getting to a stage in my life where I'm thinking like, I'm one day less instead of one day more now. You know what I mean? I'm starting to get to that frame of thought, which is a strange place to get to too. You're kind of thinking, okay, I'm 40, head for 47. I'm over halfway. So it's like, then you start thinking, okay, now it's time I want to do as much as possible now. I want to do what I can do now to the best of my ability.
Sure.
And sometimes that can put a lot of pressure on yourself. I mean, especially the last couple of years, I've pushed and said yes to everything. You know what I mean? I don't mean today. I mean, I just like to talk about this. I like to get it out. You become aware of mortality, I suppose. Then you start to think, I want to do as much as I can now. Whether that's and I want to be creative every day. That's my thing. So I'm lucky enough that I do paint. I went to art college for 4 years.
Okay.
I do play music and play music 30 years plus. I do train. So I want to do something, and I write. I have a book coming out in May. I mean, I've all of these things I want to do. And the thing is, like, now all I want to do is these things. I don't want to work anymore. You know what I mean? I'm getting to the stage, like, I don't want to do this anymore. This is taking up too much of my time. I want to do all of this and enjoy it, But it's like, how do you get from that to that? So I'm in the process of trying to transition from this purely work to live to do this work that's really, to me, it feels really important. And can I just make some money out of this?
If you can turn that into a living.
If you can turn that into a living, great. But the problem with the artists is we're generally shit at doing that.
There's a bit way to go, but there's ways to do it, but it's hard.
It's a struggle, but the way I'm seeing it is, I think the doctors will be a great thing because then you can lecture.
Yeah.
You know, and you can travel with that.
Opens up other avenues.
It does, as it is already. I'm giving talks, I'm giving lectures, I'm giving workshops, I'm doing all that now already. Like I've spoken at the Archaeological Society about 3 months ago up in Rathcronan. I'm speaking at Galway Museum, I'm speaking at libraries, but I think to have the legitimacy of a PhD would be wonderful for it, for the culture, because it would be the first person in the world with a PhD on this particular culture. You know? So that'd be a wonderful thing to have.
Yeah.
So I think if you can do that alongside your books and your documentaries, you tip away grand, you know?
I think if you just keep throwing stuff at it, other opportunities slip in
That's the thing.
that you didn't think.
That's the thing, exactly.
Yeah.
Just keep throwing mud at the wall. And that's what it's been the last 12 months has been doing that. I don't want to sound crass, like I don't want to, because at the start, like, should I even charge money for this? You know what I mean? Should I? I mean, I was having a moral dilemma. It's like, I don't think I should charge money for this because it's a part of who we are. But I'm thinking, you know, you're giving your time, you're giving your energy, you're giving all of this research, you're putting all of this time into it. You know, and I think people will actually enjoy. Let's go on. Like I'm booking a tour for the summertime.
That's on the
Let's go on a
Islands,
tour.
isn't
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like let's go for 2 days. You'll have a wonderful adventure on the Aran Islands. Maybe a lot of people might have gone there before, and I can talk to them about the story of Limo Flaherty, and the finding of the stone, and have a showcase, and it's. I can't see why that wouldn't be a good thing.
Oh, it's a completely different and like very what would you say? Kind of customized experience.
Custom experience.
And it's especially like Irish would eat it up, but I mean Americans.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean.
I think so. I mean, I think definitely, and I think it'd be more geared towards I think probably Americans and like Canadians and any of the diaspora, because I got contacted by a really high up celebrity in Hollywood who said that, you know, nice to make contact with you. My dad, or my great-granddad, was a stone wall builder in Galway.
Oh.
You know? So I said, I'd love to come back sometime, you know, and maybe meet you. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, I won't say his name, but it's like, I mean, everybody fucking knows him.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think that there's a hunger for connection.
Yeah.
Because we're virtually connected, but we're physically and emotionally extremely disconnected.
Yeah.
You know, we're extremely online connected, but we're also fucking incredibly lonely.
Yeah.
You know, and I see it in my own kids and I see it in younger generation coming up. You have 20,000 friends online, but can you talk to them about anything?
Yeah.
Can you meet up and have a fucking chat? I'm feeling down. Who can you talk to about that?
Yeah.
You know, you can't.
No.
There's all smoke and mirrors, like.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
So it's like, people have a hunger now, I think because of this, and it seems to be kind of telluric, like coming from the earth, it seems to be people want to be connected again. And we're crawling out from underneath the blanket of two big blankets like Catholicism and imperialism. We're climbing out underneath these two massively fucking weighted blankets that we've been smothered under for centuries. And all of a sudden, PJ, we're saying, who am I now?
Yeah.
Who am I? What does it mean to be Irish now? You know?
Yeah.
And that's a very fucking important question. So you're saying to me, what does it mean to be an Irish person now? Now, we defined ourselves through the struggle for 800 years. I'm Irish, I'm defiant, we're fighting against imperialism, colonialism. This is who I am.
Yeah.
You know? I have purpose, I have clarity, and I have meaning. I want to fight for my nation. Now we have our nation, right? Now, of course, we can talk about 6 counties, we won't get into that too much. But my kids are probably, you know, our people maybe in their 30s are kind of the first people on this land who never had active running gun battles and bombs and stuff on the land, ever. You never grew up with that. Like, I remember in the 90s, this was a big thing. I mean, like, it was on the news every fucking day.
Yeah.
But now it's not. So it's like, now it's like, we don't have that struggle now. Okay, we have the songs and we have our memories. But now it's like, right, what am I now?
Yeah.
You know, how do I define myself now?
The dust has settled.
Yeah, and also we've climbed out under Catholicism, which had an iron grip on this country for centuries.
Yeah.
And now that's starting to fall away. And we won't get into that too much because there's many, many horrible reasons for that.
Yeah.
But it's like, right, okay then, what's it mean? What's it mean to be Irish?
Yeah.
So I think looking back past all that is what people are doing now. They're going through the pain and the misery and the suffering, and are kind of saying, what were we before all that happened here? And that's why I think that the language is coming back, massively so. The old cultures are coming back. The hunger for connection is coming back. And I think that's the reason why. Now, this is just my own thoughts on this. I've been thinking about this a lot
No, it makes
lately.
sense, yeah.
I think that's the reason why. And that's why people want to be talking about this kind of stuff now. And why this culture that I've brought back has landed so hard.
Yeah.
Because it's just in the landscape of what's happening that there is a cultural movement
of
love for being Irish.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
You know, now I've talked to a lot of people about this, and a lot of people shy away from, like, you can't be that proud of being Irish. Like, does that come across as being nationalist? I'm like, how can you say that? We've struggled so hard to retain our identity over the last 600 years. We fought like hell through the penal laws, through imperialism, to retain our language, our culture, our music, our art and our songs. That is doing those people a disservice if you can't say, I'm proud to be Irish.
Yeah.
And some people balk from that. They're like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
But if I was American and said, I went out there shouting USA, no one would bat a fucking eyelid.
Yeah. Greatest country in the world.
You know what I mean?
Stuff,
And that's just the way they speak. And no one would talk about that. It's like, yeah, that's grand. But if I say I'm proud to be Irish, I'm suddenly like, that comes across as a bit nationalist. You know what I mean? It's like, no, I'm proud of my land. I'm proud of my people. I'm proud of my language. You know?
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And it's to say that to people, that's a good thing. Because we did have to fight very fucking hard for who we are.
Yeah, yeah. And I think people attach a stigma to that.
They do. And I think people are willing, all they want to do is stick you in a box, you know?
Yeah.
I'm finding that lately. All people want to do is shove you in a fucking pigeonhole and leave you there. And that's the way it is on social media. You have to be this.
Yeah, yeah.
And you define yourself by this. And can you move outside of that box?
Yeah.
You know? And it's a cult system. That's the way it is online.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're into fitness, you're into a certain modality. That's it. You can't do anything else.
Yeah, you're in the CrossFit gang. You're in the
CrossFit gang. You're in the High Rocks gang. You do gymnastics. You do kettlebell sport, which I was in. And I moved out of that. And people are like, when are you going to go back to training? When are you going to go back to real training? I'm like, what do you mean real training? You know, but that's your thing, and you have to define yourself by that thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that's coming up a lot lately too. We're not just one fucking thing. You know what I mean? We're people.
Yeah.
We're human beings. We've got many different interests. But you have to, online, define yourself by one modality.
Yeah.
That's your thing.
Yeah.
And then you change yourself to fit that fucking box. I don't think that's healthy either.
No. Yeah, and it's kind of an insecurity. You're like, oh, I'm stepping outside the line here. I'm Republican, I'm Democrat.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be supporting that, but it's that kind of insecurity to fall in line or to, it sounds cliche.
Follow the party line.
Yeah. I guess it kind of stems from the school systems as well, where you were a certain person. You were like a jock, or you were a goth, or you whatever. And people just had these labels.
Is it just human nature, do you think? That we just want to stick you in a box, that's you?
I think so, yeah.
You know?
I guess does it go back to tribal times and back
Maybe
to
it
ancient,
does.
Yeah.
But it's a very, very limited way of thinking about yourself, you know?
Yeah.
I've always loved exploring different avenues, you know what I mean? So whether that, like, I'm a stone lifting artist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't go together. Any of the lads, most of the lads I see doing stone lifting are, they're into the gym and it's just strength. But I think the fact that I have this whole other side of me, this creative, artistic side of it, I think that's why I've delved into the cultural aspect of this more so than most people have. Because a lot of people, it's just, I want to pick up this fucking stone and that's it. I'm going to test myself. I'm going to defeat this thing. I'm going to lift it up as high as I can. I want to be the first person to do this. I want to lift this the highest. That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know? What you're trying to do is you're trying to continue a culture.
Yeah.
So you're the next link in a very, very, very long chain. And just think of it like that.
Yeah.
And when you start thinking about it in that way, the height you lift, that doesn't matter. That's just pure ego.
Yeah.
You know, your ego blinds you to something that's truly deep about this, is that it's a culture that we had here. Now, you can take that as much as you want. Some people say, yeah, we're just a culture of strength.
Yeah.
You know, it was a culture of who's the fucking strongest.
Yeah.
In some ways it was. But when you get to the likes of the ones that were rites of passage from boyhood to manhood, or something that was lifted at a funeral game, or was lifted at a harvest festival to honour the harvest, then you're getting into something a hell of a lot deeper here than just man lifts stone. You're getting into, there's a whole cultural vibe to this. You know what I mean? And don't lose that. So like that's why like I'm writing about the book and speaking about this a lot.
Yeah.
Because like some people do get lost in the pure masculinity of it.
And you can probably see how that
You can see
happen as
how-
well. It's fun. It's you're showing off. You're
It looks good.
Yeah.
It's Instagram worthy. You know.
Yeah.
It is that, and it is. It looks great. You know.
But there's a deeper.
But there's
sentiment to it.
if you're just staying on this part of it, that's fine. If that's what you want to do, that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, you're still continuing the culture, whether you know it or not, or whether you're aware of it or not.
Yeah.
But I think if you delve into it a little bit deeper,
Yeah.
you get a hell of a lot more out of it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I mean, I went up there with a couple of guys, and I seen guys break down crying at these things because they've suddenly realised they go up there with an idea, but they've suddenly realised, oh shit, this is deep.
Yeah. There's a lot more meaning to this.
You're thinking, how many people have put their hands on this thing?
Yeah.
And then you start thinking, fuck, people have been lifting this for 100 years, 500 years,
Yeah.
1,000 years.
Yeah.
This particular object. You're not reading about it. You're not talking about it. You're putting your fucking hands on it. It's a piece of history,
Yeah.
you know? And then you start thinking, oh, fuck, you know, what were these people like? What was their day-to-day like? I always think about that.
Yeah.
What were they like?
Yeah.
You know, what was their day-to-day activity like?
Yeah.
You know, what did they dress like? You know, and then you get a hell of a lot deeper with it. You get a lot more out of it when you start thinking about that kind of stuff. I mean, those ones in the Aran Islands.
Yeah.
I mean, the Nemo Flaherty stone is a limited space, and Manchon spoke about limited spaces, and he wrote a book on it, which I loved, about these spaces in between.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Um,
And is that from like a spiritual,
I would consider it,
mythological?
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, he
Folkloric.
spoke about that a lot. You know, a lot of people don't like this stuff, but I love it. I think it's a part of who we are. You know, that he spoke about different times of the day, like, you know, at dawn and dusk.
Yeah.
There were times you could get to the spirit world or the other world, Tír an Óg, you know.
Veil is lifted.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
have the Kyo, you have the mist rising up, the in-between mist, the mist rising up off the ground in the morning time.
Yeah.
There was the druidic mist. You have the Magmel, the plain of honey, the light from the sea when the sun is coming down. There was a road to Tír an Óg.
Right.
You have all of this kind of stuff. He spoke about all these limited spaces in Ireland. But there's a tree or a stone. But I mean, I went out to that Nemo Flaherty, and there's something there. There's an energy to that thing.
Yeah. It's kind of like if this stone could talk,
Oh my God.
there's probably some sort of quantum energy in a scientific level that,
There's definitely an
Yeah.
energy to it, because I was speaking
Yeah,
to water diviners about this. And water diviner, like that stone is a pink granite stone in a field of grey limestone. So colour-wise, on a basic human level, it stands out like a beacon. But a water diviner was telling me that if you go to a granite erratic, the rods will always cross over the erratic.
okay.
They won't cross over bedrock, granite bedrock. But if there's a granite stone that's been moved, it'll cross.
And what does that signify?
Energy.
Okay.
So there's an energy off of this thing that you can't quantify.
Yeah.
You know, but you can, I suppose, because they cross over it. So there's something to this stone. There's an energy in it. Was that energy given to it by the actual movement itself that retained that in itself? But then I was speaking to Irish healers about this. And they were talking about the energy, the positive energy and negative energy between like a flower and a bee. You know, that the pollen will just attract itself to the bee. And he was saying there's something in the stones like that as well, he said. There's something in the stones that there's an energy from these things that can attract itself to you as well.
Yeah.
And you give energy to it by the lifting of it, and it gives energy to you. And I was kind of humming and hawing. It's a nice idea.
Yeah.
But I went out there 6 months ago with about 150 to 200 people. And we all stood around that stone as part of an Irish festival. Molly Fest, Molly Godera. So there was, I'm not joking, 150 to 200 people standing around this stone in a circle, and I'm in the middle. And I was giving a demonstration in the lift. Now, I'd never lifted this stone higher than my knees before. But I was getting nervous and said, lads, can someone put on some music or something? You know, I'm getting nervous here. Everyone's looking at me, there's phones out.
You could feel the eyes on you and just the pressure.
And everyone started singing, O Roshid of Ahawalya.
Wow.
Everybody.
Wow.
the whole 200 people started chanting. I'm in the middle. And can you imagine the energy that's coming in?
Yeah.
And you felt this sense of reclamation. There was all of these people here were singing in our language that was taken from us. I'm lifting a stone from a culture that was taken from us, and we're celebrating the fact that it's back. So this stone literally, I'm telling you, it lifted itself. It came up to my knees like I was picking up a fucking bag of shopping, and I stood that stone up to my chest and kissed it 3 times, like the man did in the story, and put it down.
Wow.
And it happened in front of all these people. And I think it happened because I was with all these people.
Okay.
It's 171.2 kilograms. It's absolutely massive. It's granite. It's difficult to lift. It's round. You're outside. You don't have a belt. You don't have chalk. You're just lifting a fucking rock. But it happened because of these people and the singing and the chanting and the energy and that all being pushed into the middle. You're there and it's forced in and it's coming into you, and then up it came. It goes down, I break down crying, I can't quantify, what's going on?
Yeah.
I stand up and the whole fucking place comes in like a tribal hug around me.
Yeah.
People putting their hands in, you know.
Trying to be part of
Just
this
be part,
moment.
put your hands on your head. So you're in this morass of people. And everyone there, there's no one saying well done or that was brilliant. Everyone is saying, Gora Mahagat.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're like, that's the most fucking powerful thing I've ever experienced in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, you couldn't pay for that.
You couldn't write it.
Yeah.
You know? From no one caring about that particular stone and culture 4 years ago to going back to a couple of hundred people watching you, chanting, reclamation, bringing it back, best lifts, all that together, the one space. I mean, it was fucking a perfect moment. You might only get 4 or 5 of them in your lifetime.
Yeah, if you're lucky.
If you're lucky. Some people get none.
Yeah.
But in that moment, nothing could have been any way better. It was beautiful.
The synchronicity, just everything
and I
just
don't
came.
believe in happenstance anymore. I don't believe in it. I believe things are meant to happen for a reason. And that was meant to happen on that day with those people. And it was one of those moments you never forget because you then become the story.
Yeah.
The story was the man lifted a stone on the island and it was the greatest day in his life because he done it in front of all the people at the wedding. Everyone was there. All the men were there, famed for their strength and beauty, all the islanders. And the women said, if you're all so strong, let's go down and try and lift the stone the highest. And the man in the story lifted the stone the highest. And he said, as he kissed that stone 3 times and put it down between his widespread legs, the shout that went up from the islanders was something that still resounded in his head all of these years later. He was in his dotage, he was probably in his 80s, and he probably done this in his 20s. If you're talking 50 to 60 years later, he still remembers the greatest day of his life was lifting that stone.
Wow.
And then, I had the greatest day of my life by lifting that stone. Art becomes reality.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Art becomes reality, becomes art, becomes reality. Celtic knot.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're then fit your foot, you can't get to the Caleb with the story. You know what I mean? You become the story. And it's like, that's just magic.
You're baked into the lore.
You're now, that stone and me are fit your future. We're intertwined.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it was the first stone I found. It was the best lift of my life. If I never lift that never again in my life, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I had that moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But now what I can do is I can give the stories to the people and let them have their moment with it. You know?
Yeah.
Because I'm never going to lift it again. Because I don't need to.
Yeah.
I've had my time with it, you know? Now, I lifted it for the documentary. I didn't want to. I said that in the documentary to the boys. They didn't put it on the film. It was like, I don't want to lift this. I had my moment with it.
Yeah.
How can you ever repeat that? On the documentary, then I lifted it, and I said that as my goodbye then. That's my goodbye lift, you know? So I lifted it at the end. I got a bit emotional with it, and I said, look, now it's time to pass you on.
Yeah.
But that's the last time I'll ever lift that stone. You know?
Yeah.
Because I don't need to.
Yeah. And you've kind of inspired people to be able to potentially replicate that moment for themselves.
I mean, if they can get anything like that, I wish they can.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
even if it's your own personal battle, we had a guy came over called Keith Surrett. Keith came over from Nova Scotia. He's from Halifax. Is he from Halifax? No, from Yarmouth. And he's hugely into stone lifting. He's travelled the whole world. He's big into the culture of it. He's been to Iceland. He's been to Scotland. He's been all over the place. He loved the idea of the Irish stones, and he was on to me all the time. Thank you so much for finding them. My highlight of my trip is I want to go to the Aran Islands and lift that stone, the Nemo Flaherty stone. To me, it's the jewel in the crown of Irish stone lifting anyway. So he goes out, and he didn't know then, but he had bronchitis. He was extremely ill.
Wow.
He could barely speak, because he was on to me on the phone sending me these voice messages, he croaking, but he said, I'm going. He said, when am I ever going to get a chance to do this again? So he goes out to the Aran Islands in bits, and he gets to the stone, and he tries to lift it, can't do it. Tries again, can't do it. A couple of minutes later, tries again, can't do it. That happens 12 times. Now, usually when you get to a stone, BJ, you get to a stone, you have about maybe 3 or 4, 5 attempts before you're too tired to do it again.
Yeah, it's not.
Because it's max effort. Maximum effort, And on his 12th or 13th attempt, the stone comes up to his lap and comes up to his chest. And he had his moment with it. Because he believed that he could do it, And he was there for an hour and a half. But he said, I'm not leaving here without lifting this. And I love that too. You have the grit in you to say, the dog in you to say, I'm going to fucking do this.
Yeah. If it takes all night.
And he stood there with it on his chest, and he kissed it, and he put it down, and he just let out this roar. And it was beautiful. He had his moment with it too, And whether you wanted to, that goes a lot deeper than just, I want to pick it up. It goes like, I want to respect this. I want to feel that energy from it too. And I love that. And I hope that people will come to this and give it a go. I mean, well, I went down there was 3 young lads. After that lift, there was 3 young fellas at the trainee teachers, probably 19 or 20 years old. And they were like, we were down at the stone watching you lift it today. We're going down tomorrow to fucking give it a go, right? Now, they weren't fucking that size, right? But the 3 boys go down, and together, with 6 hands on the stone, they lifted about that height off the ground. And they put it down, and they're jumping around, and they're fucking leaping and shouting and hugging, and it's like, and they were so fucking happy. And it was like, isn't that a wonderful thing to be able to give anybody?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're becoming a part in the next link in the chain of a story. And whether you lifted it with fucking 6 hands or you lifted it with 2, it doesn't matter.
It's the kind of joy and the journey that
it's the joy and the journey. It's the becoming. It's the becoming. You know what I mean? You want to become like, boy to man, because that was the legacy of the stone. If you want to become like a man, you can lift this stone. If that's what you want to do. If you if you can become a part of the culture, of the story, you can do that too. You can just go down and put your fucking hands on it.
Yeah.
You're the next person to put their hands on it.
Yeah.
And you don't have to lift it. Just go down and put your hands on it and feel the energy of it and feel the story. And that's a beautiful fucking thing. Like.
Yeah.
Because we're Irish people, we love stories. This is
who
we are.
Yeah, that's what we're kind of bred and born on, is just stories and passing on tales and.
That's what it is. And to
oral
me,
history.
the most important part of this is the story. The lift is becoming for me. The lift is secondary now. The story is all.
Yeah.
The story is all, and the stories are beautiful. There's some that are fantastical. There's some that there's some that are attached to giants. There's some that are attached to Fionn McCool. There's ones attached to Cú Chulainn.
Yep.
And then the mythology of the land becomes a part of it.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden, you're not just touching something that's culturally significant; it's mythological.
Yeah.
And isn't that wonderful?
Amazing.
It's wonderful. It's like now, this is a stone that was thrown by Fionn McCool. So let's say they went up and see Finn. Fionn McCool threw this stone to show his great strength. And it landed on this mountaintop. And because Fionn McCool threw it, it then became a chieftain's ascension stone. And that's written down in the OS maps by O'Donovan when he came over here. So because Fionn threw it, it was magical. So it was sitting on top of a hill, and the chieftain of the area had to go up with their hands on the stone to announce the right to rule.
Okay.
And that actually happened. Now, whether you believe Fionn threw it or not, that's up to you.
Yeah.
I like to believe he did, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm a bit that way anyway. So then Fionn McCool has touched it. Ancient Irish chieftains have touched it. And now, you're touching it.
Yeah.
So you're there going, I'm potentially going to pick up something that fucking Fionn McCool picked up.
You're part of that story now.
Now you're a part of the fucking Fianna.
Whether you like it or not.
You're a part of the fucking Fianna.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And whether you lift it or not, doesn't matter. You're still a part of the Fianna because Fionn McCool threw the fucking thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's this thing that has been walked past for, could be centuries, that no one batted it, and now it's been uncovered.
Alive. See, that's the thing about these stories, the Stones is, the Stones are always there, it's just the stories got forgotten. So all you're doing is bringing the story back.
Yeah.
And without the story, it's just a stone in the field.
But there's a consistency across different mythologies with stones, that there's a common denominator there.
Massively so.
Like Celtic, there's Greek mythology,
Yep.
There's Chinese
Yep.
and Norse. But each one, I think it's a human condition across, but each one has a slightly different human condition. Did you ever hear of there's a Chinese goddess? She basically helped to rebuild the heavens using different colored stones.
I did not.
So I think there's a creativity angle in Chinese mythology. There's also, I think, the Monkey King, who was born of a magic stone.
Yes, I've heard of that one.
So I think their angle is kind of creativity.
But see, it always comes back to stone.
Yeah, it does.
And that's the really interesting thing.
Yeah.
Worldwide.
Yeah.
It always comes back to stone,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah, and then you have like Prometheus, who was condemned to be chained to a rock, to stone for eternity.
You have Sisyphus
pushing
the stone up the hill.
Yeah, so I think that type of mythology is human suffering, and
Yes.
and then you can kind of see a different human condition in each one, which is interesting. It's something that I kind of noticed. I was just a great actually tool now is talking to ChatGPT. So just getting it to respond verbally to you. And you're like, tell me about this, tell me about that, what's the connection with these, and it's a great way to flesh out your ideas when there's no one else there with you, and without having to type and look at a screen, you can just talk to it.
Yeah.
And
It's interesting. One thing about ChatGPT is can be very fucking wrong as well.
Oh yeah, it can.
That's the thing. So it is to talk to, I think to talk to people is better than talk to, but I mean, said, it does definitely give you a starting point.
It's if
you know, it'd be foolish to say, let's not do that because that's the way the world is going.
It's if you've like a hot take in your head,
Yeah.
and you need to flesh it out. Obviously, you need to fact check it then, but you're kind of like, am I onto something here? And then that was kind of something I did with, I was like, okay, is there a trend of stones across different mythologies? And then it was like, basically, and then I was saying, what does it concentrate on in each one? And it was talking about human suffering, human achievement. And then there's the Arthurian, pulling the sword.
The stone.
So again, it's all centered.
And then you have you have the likes of, even these lifting stones, that the stories are similar in different countries. So you have that stone up in Seafin that was thrown by a giant, Fionn McCool, right? You also have a stone in Iceland called the Bjornalf stack, which was thrown by Bjornalf, which would be the giant. And to lift that was a great feat of strength in the exact same manner that you lift this stone up in Seafin. So it's like in this island, just off the north here, with the exact same story here, the exact same story here, almost the exact same weight of a stone, lifted the exact same way, thrown by a giant. And it's like, there's something universal about it.
A connection.
The connection is not just picking something up; it's the stories have moved around. Then you go back again. You're going to think, because I suppose there was raiding parties coming from Iceland who came here, who took the stories and the people and the women, and the stories went with them, and so it's like this whole interconnectedness of it all.
Yeah,
I really enjoy that.
Yeah, and regardless of what the rationale of it is, it's beautiful, I think, either way.
It is.
If it's just that they carried stories and they kind of changed a little bit, that's great as well, because it shows humans passing on stories.
Exactly.
The oral.
And this is who we are. And that's what I love about the Irish is we do bring our stories with us wherever we go. And people tend to listening to us.
Yeah.
We're good at it,
Yeah, I know. And even just some phrases that we say. I've a British mate in Bahrain, and one time we had just finished climbing Mont Blanc 2 years ago, and we were taking a little break for a couple of days at Lake Annecy in France, which is amazing. And I was just down by the water, and he was somewhere else, and he called me and said, "Where are you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm just down by the water." And he goes, "Say that again." I was like, "Just down by the water." And he was like, "The water." He was like, "Oh my God."
How poetic is that?
I know, and any time I say it now, I'm very conscious of it now, but he just repeats it. But he's like, "It's great." He's like, "You should do a children's book or something."
We don't even think about that, because that's who we are. But that comes from the language.
Yeah.
That comes from our language. And the more I'm getting attached to the language again, the more I'm realising, I'm hogging the fucking tea.
It's all right, no worries.
But the more I realise how attached to mythology, to spirituality, the language is, and to myth.
Absolutely.
I was up in a place in West Galway, with everybody speaking Oscailge, and I was saying, like, Tommy, I'll give you a chalk, Thomas Moore Corn Keohan. So we're going to the house of Thomas Moore. I was like, oh, Sha, on Reed, like the king. Sha. Oh, you remember there, oh, Vishay Collider Legal. And I was like, that's absolutely beautiful. So it's like, he was as strong as Gal. And Gal McMorna was the strongest man in the Fina. So this old man was just there, like, he was spoken about this man called Thomas Moore, who was the strongest man in Connemara. And he was like, oh, he was as strong as Gal. And like, then it's literally this language speaking about mythology and referencing that into the modern times. I was like, isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
It's a wonderful way of thinking, a wonderful way of speaking.
That it survived and it's
survived, it's still there. And it's like, he was as strong as Gal, And like, and most people are like, what the fuck do you mean?
And he doesn't think anything of it.
No, that's just the way we speak. He was as strong as Gal McMorna. I love it. And this man he was incredible. I mean, I saw some of the stone walls this man built. And I've written about it in my second book, which actually isn't published yet. I've only just written it on notebook at the moment. But I went up to this place and these stones that this man built this wall, there were stones between 300 to 400 kilos and they were about 6 feet high. And I was like, how did somebody with their hands build this? And he said he used to lever stones with a mast of a ship, and he used to, all these wonderful tales about this man of his famed strength. And he was as strong as Gal. And then we have all our Irish, beautiful Irish words. Yeah. Like, I'm speaking to a guy called Sean O'Cushton, and he's wonderful. And he's like, we were walking down one morning, and we were walking down by the beach. It was 9 o'clock in the morning, and the shafts of sun were coming down through the clouds. And he was like, fake or shinta. And I was like, what's that, Sean? He was like, a fake or the Farrier. And I was like, Colin the Farrier, what's the Farrier? And I said, the eyelashes of God.
Wow.
So the light beams coming down were what the old Irish people called the eyelashes of God. Okay. Now imagine how in contact you have to be with your spirituality and with land and with language to even think about that. God's eyelashes.
Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah. Yeah. And people kind of just take it for granted.
We take it for granted, but that's just the way we speak, and that's the way we always spoke, and that's our language. So when we start speaking poetically,
I was just going to say,
like I said about yours, like, I'm down by the water, and someone thinks that's amazing, but that's just the way we talk. We've brought the Irish into the English language. But now what I think is beautiful is we're actually starting to bring the Irish back a little bit too.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to use it. I mean, I walked into the fucking Circle K the other day beside where I work. And good morning, do you comes to talk? And not even thinking about it, I just said it. And the woman behind the counter who'd be in her 50s, and she's like, oh, Gamag, still fain. I said, oh, Gamag.
Great.
Cappuccino more, me Margaret, Slonga Fold, and out the door. It's like, that's fucking beautiful.
Yep. And just
in the middle of the city, a simple, basic interaction. Hello, how are you? Getting this, thank you very much, goodbye, see you again. And to not be ashamed of it.
No.
Because a lot of people are. There's a lot of shame and self-consciousness. And it's like, will someone laugh at me? It's like, this is your fucking dukas. Tarshishinda dukas. It's your birthright. Speak the language. Lauri agus marigi. Speak it and it will live. Speak it. And don't be afraid of it, even if it's just diagwit. If you say that every day, you're speaking the language. Every day, and you can then honestly say, I speak Irish every day. It might be too fucking much.
Just greetings.
But it's Irish.
Gorv Mila Mahagot, just...
Shocking.
Omil Catagum Dulgadil Hers.
Everyone knows that in school.
Yeah.
But I mean, all you got to do is say a couple of words. And a couple of words will become more words. And to have a bit of pride in it. Because I'm looking at my own father, who hates the language, hates the Irish music. But you sit him in a pub in fucking West Galway and get a few points in him, he's tapping his fucking feet and he's thinking this is the best thing ever. It's that post-colonial shame that a lot of us carry.
It's a subconscious shame that you're not supposed to like this.
How dare you? You know what I mean? It was bet out of you for so long. Like I'm saying, it was bet out of us, but now we're starting to, and there's a beautiful word, telluric, resonant from the earth, it's starting to come up through our bones, that we're starting to bring it back. We're starting to bring it back, and it's like not to be ashamed of it, to revel in it. And say, isn't it wonderful to have a bit of our culture back again? And that to me is what this has been, this whole stone lifting culture revival has been. It's a wonderful part of our culture. It was a part of what we did. It was a part of how we celebrated life, part of how we celebrated death, part of how we celebrated harvest. It was a part of our day-to-day lives.
Yep.
It was also a feat of strength on Sundays at Crossroads. You know, lads getting together, having a bit of crack. You know, it covered a lot of bases.
Yeah.
And it's like, go do it and try it. You know?
Yeah.
They're everywhere. There's 53 of them found now.
53 found. And I think you have there's a database online, it's liftingstones.org or something that I was looking at.
Yeah, that showcases pretty much all the different stones in the world.
Yeah.
It doesn't go into the stories behind them, but it gives you where they are, it gives you the weights,
The weight,
gives you
if
the
it's
names.
liftable.
If it's liftable, you need permissions.
Yeah.
But it shows you where they are, and you can just go visit them. And that's what I think I was wondering about. You can just go visit these things. You know?
Yeah.
You can just drive down to your local cemetery or crossroads, and it's there. And it's like that one over in Scotland, the Fina stone, the one attached to the Fina. You could go lift a stone that was lifted by a Fina warrior 1,500 to 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
It's sitting in the fucking field in Glenlyon.
As a way to get into as a warrior.
As a way to become, one of the ways to become a Fina warrior was to lift this stone to the plinth. You also had many different other things to do. In the Scottish one, it was like a broad jump to into your kilt, run under a sword held at chest height without breaking stride. Like the Irish had 9, we had 9 different ways of getting to the Fina. But this one, and then you had to lift the stone as a show of strength.
Yep.
127 kilos, big enough for a stone.
Yep.
But then shaped and carved. You know, to me it looks like you know, like a penis, like as a penis shape.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, it's obviously a virility test.
Yeah.
Are you strong enough? You know, are you masculine enough to lift this up?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a lot of people weren't, and a lot of people were. But you're putting your hands on a bit of history. You're like saying, can I test myself like a Fina warrior tested himself? And then you're thinking, fuck, possibly someone attached to the Fina tribe lifted this particular object. It's a venerated fucking object to me. It's like, this is not only a part of our culture, it's a part of our fucking mythology. And you can just go and pick it up.
Yeah. It's this artifact that's just there.
It's not in a museum.
Yeah.
It's not sitting behind glass.
Yeah.
It's like a piece of fucking mythology. It sits in the land that you can test yourself against. And there's something very powerful about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Glenlyon, if you've never been there, Glenlyon is one of the most beautiful places in Scotland. This gorgeous Highland Glen. And you come up across this thing, and this thing is fucking dreary. I was there, and the clouds, the Fourier was coming through the clouds.
Yeah.
And it was almost like beam onto the thing. It was like, this is magic, like.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like, it is. If you open yourself up to it,
Yeah.
the land will give you things like this, I find. You know?
Yeah. And I like what you said. It's earlier in the documentary. It's these stones want to be found.
They do.
Which was a great.
Well, I mean,
way of
I asked
putting it.
permission.
Yeah.
I asked the land's permission. I didn't say that in the doc, but I did. I say it in the book.
Yeah.
When I found the Lima Flaherty stone, which was the first one, as I'm coming back, I'm passing by the well of the island, the freshwater well. And beside the well, there was a large blue, round, I'm talking like a duck egg blue stone that stood out like a fucking beacon. And I was there with a friend of mine from Scotland. And he was like, that's a wishing stone. I was like, wishing stone? That's a fucking wishing stone, he said. Pick that stone up and put it there, he said. Pick it up and put it there. And think about something.
Yeah.
So picked up the stone, probably about 60, 70 kilos, put it on top of the well and asked the land's permission to find more of these things. Because that was the first one I'd found. And I didn't know was there anyone anymore. So with that simple act of fucking humility and asking permission, I think then gave me the right to go looking for these things.
Yeah.
And the next day I got a phone call about a stone and an Irish man. The next day an island over. And I go onto the island and I find it. And in the process of finding it, another man says there's one here. And it was just snowball down a hill. Because I think I was given the right to look for it because I approached it with humility.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not doing it for monetary gain. I'm not doing it for notoriety. I'm doing it because I think it's a good thing to do.
Yep.
And I think that stuff kind of sticks to you, you know? And then, I mean, you found the culture was dead. It was dead. And now it's alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it has literally resurrected from the fucking dead.
Yeah.
Because there was nobody doing it.
It's like it was kind of hanging on by a thread.
It was an ember.
to fall into, the ether.
That's it.
And then, you pull it up.
And there it is. And all it took was someone to just blow a bit of life out of
Yeah.
it. And now it's just been embraced it's been embraced. And people have taken it to their heart, and they're just fucking doing it now. And it's amazing to see it come alive again. And have such a, I mean, an hour documentary on the telly, you know, going on to like the Tommy Tiernan show, meeting your heroes, you know, blind by all these, and having chats with them. And they're like, this is fucking amazing. I can't believe you found the Limo Flaherty stone. I was like, it was just there. It was just, all it took was someone to go look for it. And why has no one looked for this before?
It was kind of there being like, I'm here, lads.
Like, people just walking past it every day of the week, you know? And someone had written about it on Reddit 12 years ago and said, like, the stone that Limo Flaherty wrote about is here.
Oh, wow.
It's here.
Okay, and is that what kind of initially, did you?
Christ, yeah, because I was there, I was like, first of all, I was like, I read about the Limo Flaherty story, and it was like, wonderful, that's an amazing story. Is it fact or fiction? I don't know. But then Peter Martin, who single-handedly pretty much brought back all the Scottish lifting stones himself, because there's only 2 lifting stones known about 12 years ago in Scotland. Peter Martin made it his life's work to go find these stones. He found about 30 or 40 over there. He got wind that there was a stone on Inishmore through the story. So I'm like, okay, so Peter Martin said it's there. Then Conor Heffernan said it's there. Possibly, all possibly. So I go into Reddit and I go on looking, and all of a sudden, Peter Martin, who brought this culture back in Scotland, is talking. He said, I'm pretty sure there's an Irish culture as well, if there's a Scottish culture. And this woman at the end of the fucking thread, hi, my name is Fiona. I live in Inishmore, in a place called Gortnacoppel, which is a village on the east side of the island. The stone that Limo Flaherty wrote about is based on an actual stone that is sitting on the pathway. I hope this helps somebody. And nobody had followed it up.
Wow.
So I'm like, you're fucking telling me exactly that this not only is the story true, the fucking stone that he's writing about is an actual stone based on an actual practice on the island.
And someone just knows where it is.
And someone knows exactly where it is.
So
it's on this passageway going from Gortnacoppel to Port Vale on Doon, which is the harbour. So I go over with my friends, cycle the 25 minutes to Gortnacoppel, hop off the bikes, walk down this fucking path, and standing out like a beacon on the right-hand side, exactly as is described in Limo Flaherty's story, is the stone. Wow. A round block of granite sparkling as the sunshine shone upon the particles making the surface of the stone. In a hollow. Exactly that. And there it is. And no one had fucking followed it up. You know, I was like, there it is. And all it took was the finding of that. And it was then just, like I said, a snowball down a hill after that. After asking my permissions, it just fell. I literally pulled on the thread. And the whole thing just fucking unraveled. Wow. All it took was that. Just lighting the fucking touch paper. And then all of a sudden, because it wasn't me brought it back, I just shone a light on that. And then the whole of the Irish was like, there's one here, there's one here. It was starting to kind of build. Then I went on the blind buy. And it was like a fucking dam burst. Because like I didn't know how much of a fucking reach he had. 2 years ago I was onto the Blind Buy podcast first. And I was aware of Blind Buy. I wasn't listening to his podcast too much. Every now and again, I didn't know how much reach he had. So we went on. I was a little bit nervous because I knew it was a big deal. And we were chatting, and he was like, look, he said, if we just talk about our fucking dogs, he said, for 2 hours, just matter, as long as we have a fucking chat, like, I don't give a fuck. You know, and we just got to chatting, and we had the best fucking chat ever. And we chatted on the Sunday, he released it on the Wednesday. Wednesday morning, when that thing dropped, I woke up and had about 5,000 new followers. The minute I woke up.
Wow.
Right? And there was message after message after message after message, right? Most of it like, this is amazing what you're doing, I really love the podcast. But every fucking, maybe 30 or 40 messages, there's a stone here that my granddad said he lifted, or there's a stone here that was lifted in this area for many, many years. No one had lifted in a while, but it's here. You know? And as the day went on, I had a friend of mine actually over from America. He's probably the best stone lifter in the world, called Sean Urquhart. And we were on the stone lifting tour together. And this podcast came out in the middle of the tour.
Wow.
So anytime I turned on my phone, I was getting like 2, 3, 4, 5,000 new followers. All the time I turned it on. Message. I'm like, Sean was like, what the fuck is going on with you, man? So every time you turn the phone, I was like, bing, 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 bing. And it was like non-stop. And I was like, this podcast came out. I wasn't aware of how big it was. So in the middle of the tour, we found one down in Cork, we found one in fucking here, hit there, everywhere. And we went to find these stones in the middle of the fucking tour that we weren't even planning. We said, we just go down. And then you're meeting people. This is the last man who lifted it. Or this man's granddad was the last man who lifted it. And he'd come out. And he'd tell you the story. And the village would come out to watch you lift it. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, you're becoming a part of fucking culture.
Yeah.
You're becoming like modern mythology through it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Lads are lifting things that haven't been lifted in 100 years, 150 years. You know? You're meeting the grandson of the last man who lifted. He might be in his 70s or 80s. I remember coming down here and watching me dad and watching me granddad lifting it when I was a boy, like. And now you're doing it again, and they're getting teary because they're thinking back, you know? And you're bringing this back literally in front of their eyes. And people are gathering to watch it. And it's like, isn't that fucking amazing? But I didn't realise how much of a blind by how much of an influence he would have on this.
Yeah.
He backseat drove a lot of this.
Yeah, because that's right up his alley.
Oh my God.
When I just saw the title, when it first came out, I was like, we're in for something here. Because when he latches onto something that especially that's in kind of his wheelhouse, that someone specialises in, he's like...
We had the best fucking chat ever.
Oh, it's...
And people have said, that's my favourite episode. And I've had a load of people say, that's my favourite episode ever, a blind by.
Yeah.
Because we were just like two mad just rattling on about things, and we just had the best crack. And it was just two passionate people having a chat.
Yeah.
But like I said, people respond to that, don't they?
Yeah, they do. It rubs off. There's a contagion to it.
There is.
Do you know what I mean?
And it makes you go out and look, and it makes you ask the question the next time you see your granddad. You know what I mean? Remember that? What was that fella talking? Yeah, stop my son.
Yeah.
And ask, and then all of a sudden, you might have a story come back again that would have been lost. I mean, the amount of these that I found that the last man to lift it would be in his 80s, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, even the Liam Flaherty when I was there, and I got the confirmation from a man giving a walking tour. He's like, oh, you should have come 6 months earlier. I said, why is that? I said, the man who lived over there, he said he was 92. He died at 92 6 months ago, but he knew everything about that stone. Every single thing. Lineage, all the stories. But he's dead now, and the stories are gone.
And there's a sadness to it, because you're like, that link has just
that particular link has gone.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm doing. So I literally just want to preserve what we have.
Yeah.
Because the thing will gather itself now again. The stories will come back. This guy lifted it, this person, this woman lifted it, this man lifted it.
Yeah.
You know, that'll all happen again now. But you're just trying to grab onto the last fingernail of it hanging on before it's gone. Because a lot of them, I'm sure I found 53, I'm sure there's another 153.
Yeah.
That might never be found again because the story is broken. That link is broken. And once it's broken, it's gone forever.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's important to find these things, document them, and write them down so that the story won't be forgotten again, because the story is everything.
Yeah. And now they're immortalized digitally.
Yes.
Through documentaries.
That will help.
Through podcasts.
Massively so.
So now you've there's no real worry for that to diminish, I think.
No, and it's wonderful to see that now, because it was just me going off my car with this. I was worried, well, something happened to me, and you know, the whole fucking thing's fucked again, like. But now it's like there's academic papers written on it now. Dr. Conor Heffernan, Dr. David Nolan have written a proper academic paper on this.
Wow.
That's down forever. The book is out in May. That'll be out forever.
Wind Beneath the Stones.
The Wind Beneath the Stones, name of the book, and that'll be out 21st of May.
Wow.
And that's literally just about me on the adventure. It's me starting from the start, like we're talking about today, to me, you know, full circling.
Yeah.
And all the stories in between.
Yeah.
And it's the stories, like I said, is everything. But like I said, now it's alive again, and it won't, please God, it will never be forgotten again. But it's just to find as much as we can find now, not just me, but us as a collective. And now I'm seeing people take what I'm doing here and then take it to their own country. Like the likes of Callum Stout over in England. Callum is now finding the English lifting stones and the stories, inspired by the Irishman. And I think there's a very fucking healing full circle moment in that, because the English took the culture away from us. But it's the Irishman bringing back his own culture that the English had took. It's inspiring the Englishman to look for his own culture that they had lost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a kind of there's a weird irony or a beauty, or there's something there.
There's something there.
Yeah, there is, You
can call it irony, you can call it beauty.
There's reconciliation
Exactly. I prefer to see it that way myself.
Yeah.
But I mean, I took the ball from the guys in Scotland, inspired by them. And now I'm passing it to the guys in England, the guys in Brittany, and they're going looking for their own culture. And I think that's beautiful. And that's
Brittany, in France?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I mean, sure, Brittany we can't take a course. You know, and then obviously the Basque in Spain.
Yep.
But I mean, I think all of the Celtic nations had this. But like the more I went into it, it's not just a Celtic thing, it's everywhere. Every indigenous culture has a culture of stone lifting or a culture of strength as a rite of passage. And that's something we're sorely lacking as well. There's no rite of passage to become an adult anymore.
No.
It's another whole line of conversation you can get into.
It's a blurred kind of
You just get a set of car keys.
Yeah.
Now you're an adult. Off you go.
It just sort of happens.
Yeah.
And there's no real
There's
kind of
no
barrier.
toll gate
No.
anymore.
No.
It's like you haven't got a toll gate to become an adult now. You just become an adult.
And
Whereas
then-
before you had to strive. So it was like even the Scottish culture was like the clockwood furry, the manhood stones.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're lighter, they're about 100 kilos. But the boys of between 14 and 16 have to go down and lift that stone to become a man. You had to be lifted up the chest, you lift onto a plinth.
Yep.
And if you did that, you're a man, my son. You can own land, you can marry, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But if you didn't, you're still a child. You have to train, you have to strive, you have to do something difficult to become. And it's that becoming
Yeah.
and striving to become is something that we're missing now.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Do you think there would be a way to bring that back in another form?
I think so. I mean, it was a very powerful moment for me, even going over in my early 40s to do that. I suddenly felt like, I mean, for the first time in my life, and I've done, you know what I mean, I'm married, I have kids, I've become a world champion in the sport, I've travelled the world with it. But the first time I actually really felt, oh, fuck, I'm a man now.
Yeah.
It was that toll gate that I was missing. I'd lifted these stones that were the manhood stones for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years in the clans in Scotland, and I suddenly felt, my God, yeah, that's it. And then when I lifted the Phoenix stone, that took that to another level altogether.
Yeah.
Now I'm in part of mythology.
Yeah.
I've become a part of modern myth, and it's like, that's a powerful thing to come home with. So that drove me to go looking for the stones here. And like I said, a lot of these stones were rites of passage stones. So I know there's young lads training now, because they talk to me. They're like, I want to go out and get the wind under
Yep.
the Lima Flaherty stone, or what its actual name is the Mullane Port Vale Doon. I want to get the wind under the Mullane. And once I do that, because in the story, it's a great day in any young man's life when he can get the wind under the stone.
Yeah. Yeah.
A couple of inches.
Yeah.
If you get the wind under that stone, you're a man. You know, and there'll be lads with it, and they said, I'm trained to do it. I can't I'm going out in the summertime.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try it. But I'm not going to try, I'm going to fucking do it.
Yeah.
And I see, when I saw those three young fellas, between the fucking three of them, lift it and see what it gave them, I know it'll be the same experience and I can give that rite of passage to these people.
Yeah.
And that's a powerful thing to give people.
It's something that was sitting there all along that can bring that joy, but no one knew it.
Yeah.
And you can maybe apply that to other things.
Of course you can.
It opens up your mind to be like, there's a lot of other things out there. You're kind of looking beyond the veil, I guess, as it were. And I mean, maybe the story that'll be passed on in some years is about you, is that this man read about myths, and then because he did that and followed it to a depth, he became part of the myth. You know, that might be the way the story is told, because it's told with some hyperbole, and which is lovely.
That's wonderful.
Which
that's
is great.
Who we are,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And it's nice to think you could be interwoven with a beautiful story like that.
Yeah. And it's just, I don't know, the fact that you had read about the Lima Flaherty stone on pages, and now you're actually releasing books of stories.
I wrote about that in the book. It's like, that's what I said, like art becoming life forever, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like art becoming life with Joe. You became the story.
Yeah.
By reading the story.
Yeah.
You know? It's like fucking the never-ending story. Remember that Bastian Balthazar books?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Bastian becomes part of the story by reading the story. He becomes a part of the never-ending story. And it's like you become a part of that never-ending story of the stone. You become a part of the story of it. You've interwoven yourself through the story of it. And now you're passing the story to the next person. And they can do the same thing. And it's there. Just go do it, you know?
Yeah. It's just when you think about these things in a different way, if you open up your mind a bit.
Open your mind up to it.
Cynicism kind of drops, and you're like, no, there's a lot of that can be taken out of this.
There's a hell of a lot of depth in it, you know? And a lot of people will just write it off as, you know, I want to lift a rock.
Yeah.
And if you want to do that, that's fine.
Which is fine.
That's fine. It's a great test of strength. It's a wonderful thing to do. You're in the process of lifting a rock, you've travelled to one of the most beautiful locations in Ireland, in the world to me. You're getting off a fucking phone screen. The pilgrimage to get to the stone itself is as important as the lifting of it. So you're getting a ferry across to an island, which is magical. You have to get a bike and cycle to it. So you're cycling through the beautiful fucking landscape.
Yep.
You're looking around, you're going, this place is amazing. The smell of the sea. You're getting to this place called Gurtnacoppel, a village. You're hopping off your bike and you're walking down amongst the rocks, and you're like, to even do that, you've had a fucking amazing day.
You're kind of in a fable. You're back in time.
Part of the story, you know, and like to just do that itself and to not lift the stone. It doesn't matter. you've already had an amazing fucking day. There's Dún Aengus on the fucking hill, the second oldest fort in Europe, 3,500 BC. And the stone is called the Mollán Port Vale on Doon. Mollán means round granite boulder. Port Vale on Doon is the mouth of the port of the fort. And the fort is Dún Aengus.
Okay.
So it's the round granite boulder at the mouth of the port of Dún Aengus.
Wow.
Right? So this stone could fucking, in all theory, be attached to that fort. So how long has it been lifted? Has it been lifted for fucking 5,000 years? I don't know. We don't know. They say the story says from time immemorial it's been lifted. So you're lifting something that has been lifted for a long, long, long time. It's been around a long time. It'll be around after you a long, long time. But for that moment, you become that next link in the story.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a powerful beauty to that.
Yeah. That's mad. Yeah, that's amazing. And it's just, yeah, I'd say it's just hard to put it into words.
It
kind
is.
of what you've...
Like I said, I'm trying to, that's what I'm speaking like this is.
And you are doing it very well, but it's just one of those things that, I guess when you lifted the Liam O'Flaherty stone, I'd say it was like a out-of-body experience or third person.
That's the best way to describe it, because it was strength born from another place.
Yeah.
You know? No, I have trained for it.
Yeah.
I've worked hard for it. But when you have that kind of positivity and energy behind you, and sense of self and sense of reclamation and a depth to it, that's a powerful, powerful experience. You know, it's a powerful experience. And I think from listening to the likes of the wonderful, like, you know, Aryeshti Keohan, Manchán, Megan, and the likes of Eddie Lennon, and these people who are of the land and speaking about the land, that kind of stuff really, really helps.
Yeah.
You know, it helps you get it more. It takes it beyond the surface level, into the depths of who we are as a people.
Because they're like the conduits.
They are the light and
orators, the conduits.
Exactly. They open my mind. I mean, and even like, as respect to Manchán, everywhere I went in the book, I'm given the English name, but I'm also given the Irish name and the translation of the Irish name, what it means. And then you're kind of going, and then even that in itself, everywhere you're going now, you're like, oh fuck, this makes sense.
Yeah.
I used to live out in a place called Fenner, Fionnuur. Fionnuur, Fenner. Fenner means nothing. Fionnuur, the white side of the hill. Why is it called the white side of the hill? Because in the springtime, the white flowers will flower on that side of the hill, the white side of the hill. Beautiful.
Descriptive. It's all descriptive language.
Descriptive. I go down to Ben Voy to lift a stone. That's where I train. Ben Voy and Ben Voy, the melodious yellow. On Ben Voy. Why is it called the melodious yellow? Because the cliffs fucking shine yellow in the evening time because of the colour of them. And the melody of the sea coming in against them. Yeah. The melodious yellow. Yeah. Ben Voy means nothing. Ben Voy means
just
everything.
the anglicised.
And that's all coming from me from Manchán. So that, as a way to honour him, every single placement in the book describes that. And then like I said, it opens your mind so much more when you go to anywhere now. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's what that means. Yeah. No, it's not just a place name now. It's a whole. It's got a character to it.
Description of the experience of.
It's the experience
happening.
of being in the area, as opposed to just a name.
Just a name. Yeah, that you don't think twice of. And I liked the way when he was on Blind Boy's podcast, he would say something in English, then he would repeat in Irish. Yeah. And then you would hear like Blind Boy say, "Wow, is that what that means?" And he made sure to always clarify what it means in Irish.
Exactly. I'm trying to do that myself.
Yeah.
You know, now like Liam McGregor for so by the time I got home in Changa, I'm really trying my best to learn it now. You know, because of people like him and because of that depth. And we've talked about depth a lot this evening in this conversation. It's because of that depth, you know? Yeah. And already, it's no coincidence that most of these stones have Irish names as well.
Yeah, for sure. No, you could just tell there was like a big pride in just repeating what the meaning of everything is in Irish. And just,
hugely so.
Yeah.
And it's like, it suddenly gives something a sense of place. You know, I love it, you know? Yeah. Like I used to live in Clonmel, like in Clún Mala. What a name, like. What a name, the Meadow of Honey. Isn't that just the most beautiful name I've ever heard? Yeah. Because it's an arable land, it's got a load of bees, you know?
But it kind of just transports you somewhere else. It just makes you...
It's suddenly, it's like, isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
And I was going up to Limerick there the other day, and I met some Americans who were like, we're going through Ula. And they were like, we were going through 00 LA. You know, it's great that you guys named it after an American place. I'm like, no, Ula means apples, you know? Because there was orchards there. Yeah. You for the LLA apples. You know, but 00 LA means nothing. Oola.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you think, oh yeah, oola, that's actually apples.
Yeah.
You know, little things.
Yeah.
But they make their little things are everything when it comes to this, you know?
Yeah. And there might be towns that have a name that it's not very apparent when you do translate it. You're like, why is that? But then that sparks curiosity to be like, why is it called that? I need to find out.
Exactly. And if you can give, like, what I love is if you can give people the corners of a jigsaw, you know, and that's what I'm doing with this. Give them the corners.
Yeah.
And go off and figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
figure out your own landscape means. Figure out what your own village means, your parish means, you know, your townland means.
And that can
and then spark your curiosity out and go looking. And you never know what you find, you know, what mythology you find on the way.
Yeah.
Go into Dukas, type in your townland in Dukas. Oh my God.
Yeah. That's
all of a sudden, all the fairy stories are supernatural. All the battles, all the culture comes out of where you live. And all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, I live here. I never knew that.
Yeah.
But all you got to do is go into Dukas and type in a keyword. And all of a sudden, your whole world comes alive.
It's like a treasure trove of...
Your world comes alive, and it's not just a field anymore. It's a place where there was a battle, or this guy lifted the stone.
Yeah.
Or, you know, or this person did this, or this person did this. And all of a sudden, it's a story, and the story is all.
Yeah. Wow. And Dukas, was that a main source that you used when you were...
I used Dukas a lot, because Dukas was... As I was coming off those first those first phone calls I was getting, I suddenly was thinking, okay, this mightn't just be an island off the west coast of Ireland culture. It might be a whole Ireland culture, but I didn't know it was then. It's like, what do we do now? Like, I got lucky, and then I got in contact with Johnny Dillon, and he told me all about Dukas and the fact that he was a curator up there. And he was like, oh, man, I love what you're doing. Here's a couple of stories that I just researched myself today, just on the fly. He gave me about 4 stories. And then I went on to Dukas. After I found those 4 stones and rang him, he's like, oh, you fucking found them? I was like, yeah. You know what I mean? I went off and I looked for him. You know, he gave me the story. One was in Tipperary. It's only an hour away from me. He gave me the story on the Wednesday. I went up and I found it on the Saturday. And it's like, it's there. Stones don't go anywhere. You know, generally, unless someone has literally physically picked them up with a fucking digger and fucked them out of the way, which has happened a little bit, but not often.
Yeah.
But I was just, there it is. This is the stone that, like, Thomas Lonergan was the strongest man in the village. He was the only man who could lift the stone. There it is. Just sitting there in the graveyard. You know? And all of a sudden, it's not just a story anymore, written down. It's alive. There it is again, you know? And he was like, I can't believe you found it. I was like, yeah, but has anyone else gone fucking looking for him?
Yeah. Maybe.
It means you had to get up off your arse and go looking for it.
Yeah.
Like, get up on a Saturday morning, like I said, you want to sit there and doom scroll for the day. Or you can get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, like I was doing, and drive to a place. Drive to the west of Galway. Meet the people, talk to the locals, find the stone, drive home. Now, it's taken you a day, but you've brought back a piece of Irish culture.
You derive
in a day.
Yeah. Yeah. So it just shows what you can achieve.
What you can do, or what anybody can achieve. I mean, like I said, if one man working a 40-hour fucking week on his days off can bring back an entire fucking lost culture in the country purely from passion, anybody can.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can apply that to
anything. You can apply that to fucking anything.
Yep.
You know? Any part of the culture or anything else. If you want to do it, just get up off your fucking arse and do it. And don't think about it too much.
No, and...
Because you get paralysis analysis. You can just overthink everything. I get that all the time from people. Should I, could I, would I, can I, will I? Just go fucking do it.
Yeah.
And think about it afterwards.
Yep. And that's what I've tried to do with this. 2 months ago, I didn't know the first thing about doing a podcast, but then I was
we're sitting here having a fucking cup of tea.
Yeah. And I just said, do you know what? It just kind of, it sparks. It kind of takes over a little bit, and you get into that flow. I was like, grab it while it's hot in your mind.
Do it.
Write down what you're gonna. Yeah. And I just kept going, and since then, the last 7 weeks, I've just been going at it.
There you go.
And I just like, and you'd be surprised. You reach out to people, and people are always happy to...
People want to talk.
They do, yeah.
People want to talk, and again, I found that too. People want to talk.
Yeah.
You know? And they want to have a chat about something that they're passionate about. Yeah. With someone who's interested.
Yeah.
Generally.
Yep.
Yeah, no matter who you are.
Yeah.
You know?
And I haven't limited myself to who I'll speak to.
No.
Because people say, what's the theme? I'm like, there's no theme. I just sit down, put 2 cameras, and just chat.
And have a chat.
Yeah, and it might go on a tangent, and it might not, but it doesn't matter.
Like, we've barely talked, what I love about it tonight is, like, we've barely talked about lifting of stone at all. The physicality of it has been very, very...
We've kind of went around...
Yeah, but that's the most important part to me. I mean, I could sit down with someone there who's into the gym, and we could talk about and I've talked about this, like, on the likes of the Stones of Strength podcast, and we talked about the actual fit, the shape,
technical aspects.
The technical aspects of it, how to do it, you know, this particular way of lifting.
Yeah.
No, we've talked about everything else around it, which I
it,
love,
yeah.
which is my favorite, which has become my favorite part of it now.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that there isn't any limits.
Yeah.
And again, we go back to don't set your fucking limits. Just talk about what you want to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just nuggets of wisdom, stuff. People will get stuff from these that they didn't think they would.
Please God.
Yeah. And it's just.
I mean, I'm going to share this out anyway. So I mean, I know.
Great.
I mean,
I appreciate
I got a big, getting a pretty decent following on fucking Instagram.
No, that's great. It's great. And I had just the other weekend, I have my notes app, and anytime I think of someone, I put them down. And I put you down a while ago, and then I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to send him a message. And
that's what people say, no?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's the thing. People are just terrified.
Fear of rejection.
So what?
Yeah.
And again, it's to me, like I did contact all these people.
Yeah.
And sure, what's the worst thing to say? No, sorry, I can't. Okay, Grant.
I think actually people should put themselves out there to purposefully get rejected.
Exactly.
Exposure
rejection isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
You know, rejection is just it's like it hasn't happened now, but it will happen.
There's this thing initially that happens. You're like, oh, that hurt. Yeah, oh, I wanted to. But it's just. But if you go out and purposefully say, I'm going to get at least one person to say no to me today, it'll become. I'll become immune to it.
That's it.
And then So pretty much 95% of the people I've reached out to so far in planning have all said yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. And I reached
just
out.
took the balls to start.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, like you said, analyse themselves out of this.
Yeah. They do. They're like, that's not me.
If anything, people get anything today is like, just go fucking do it for yourself.
Yeah.
Go do it. Yeah. Do the thing.
Do the
Do the thing.
do. And people will be receptive to that. They'll see.
There's a great quote. It's like, if you jump, the universe will put out a net. But you have to be brave enough to jump.
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't. Make the jump. Shit will happen. Stuff will happen. People will rowing behind you. And look at what's happened with this over the past 4 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I made the jump, and now you're selling books, and you're doing documentaries, and you have a whole culture brought back in Ireland.
Yeah. And you didn't have that intention at the start.
It was no intention. It was just go do it.
I'm interested in this. I'm going to...
Just go do a thing.
Yeah.
And you never know where the fuck it'll take you.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's just people getting past that sort of, I'm not the one to do that. Yeah, they're like, that's not me.
That imposter syndrome.
Stay in your box, stay in your lane. Yeah.
Dream big.
And I just...
like, what if I fall? Down, what if you fly? Nice. You know what I mean?
And I was kind of worrying. I was like, what if one of the cameras falls over? I'm like, who cares?
Yeah.
It's grand. Just be like, yeah, sorry, fell over. I'll put it up again. It doesn't need to be polished.
No.
You know what I mean? It's just, And
you learn through experience.
You do, yeah.
You know? And so this is your first one?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Happy and honoured to be here.
No, it's an honour to have you. And it's just, as I said, I'm sure you've been on more formal methods of media, which is good as well. That serves its own purpose.
It does. I mean, I've been on TV a couple of times, or 5 times now, and all kinds of podcasts. I won't mention names, but a lot of podcasts that literally give you a list of fucking questions. Say, look, this is what I'm going to ask you. So you're there like, there's absolutely no wiggle room in this. There's no passion or creativity or spontaneity in this at all.
Yeah.
It's like we're like a pop star, like a 4/4 time song. That you're asking this, I'm answering this, you're asking this. There's no rhythm.
No.
It's just 4/4 time. Whereas this is jazz conversation, which I love. It's spontaneous. It comes around in loops and tangents, and we have a chat. And this is the way it should be done. And carry that forward, please.
Yeah.
And keep it that way, because it's wonderful that someone can just sit down and think and talk.
And
it's not formal.
It's not structured. It's because then you feel there's guardrails and you're like, no, I can't go too far in a tangent.
Yeah.
And then you're getting self-conscious, being like, oh no, I'm going on a tangent here. And then you start to trip
Embrace
up.
the tangent.
Yeah, embrace the tangent. Just
keep Christ, if blind boys happen to go by, embrace the fucking tangent.
Yeah.
And go with it.
Yeah, he's like, Jesus, lads, we've got an awful tangent there. What was I talking about?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You got a good story out of it anyway.
Yeah, because
that's the Irish way.
Yeah, it is. And that's what we do. That's what they do. When you ask, I think he talked about it before, when you ask an Irish person for directions, they tell you a story. They're like, if you go to that bridge, actually, you've gone too far.
That's it.
So then you have to go. So they don't just say, you go here, you go left. But it's great because they're just telling a story. But that's, in the DNA.
It all comes back that that's who we are as a people.
Yeah, and that's the way kind of this form of media should happen as well. I think when you try to be too rigid, the host as well gets a bit self-conscious because they're like, oh, okay, so
Yes.
tell me about...
Yeah, and like I said, it sucks the creativity and the art out of it.
And I
sucks
thought
the
about
juice
that
out of it,
initially,
you know?
but everyone, that's the first thing they ask me, especially kind of parents and stuff. They're like, oh, but what's the theme going to be? Oh, but are you going to make money off it? I'm like, I don't care.
That's it. but that's a great way to be, because I get that a lot too. When are you going to make money out of this?
Yeah.
And for the last 4 years, that's all I've been getting. You just put so much time and energy in it. When are you going to start making money? And when you say to people, I don't care, they don't know what to fucking say.
No.
They're like, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah. They're like, oh, I didn't expect
But sure,
that
isn't money
response.
to fucking everything? Like, it's like, nah, man. How can you put a price on having clarity and purpose and meaning in your life?
Yeah.
How can you put a fucking price on that? This has given me all of those.
Yeah. And then eventually the other things can come in.
And shit will happen. You know what I mean?
does, yeah.
You can do a few bits, like I said, now it's great
Yeah.
now with the documentaries and books and stuff, but that was never in the cars.
Yeah.
But it's like, it will come.
If you do something...
If you do something for the right reasons to begin with.
If you do it for, you're saying, I want to make money, it won't. That'll shine through. People will be able to
pick up
tell.
on that. People are clever.
They do, yeah.
You know.
So I just said, lean into, it doesn't matter if you spend a bit of money, who cares? What were you going to spend it on anyway? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Holidays or,
Yeah.
do you know, pints.
Points, yeah.
Pints are great, but you know.
Yeah.
But it's just like, people just have a weird outlook on it. They're just like, oh no, if you step outside. But I've had I know a lot of people have been very supportive. I'm not trying to, you know, but there has been people who've said, oh yeah, but what about, you're worried about money, you're worried about, I'm like, no, I'll do it, see what happens.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
There's nothing that's that bad.
There's nothing going to happen.
No.
You know?
No.
If something fails, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're back to where you were at the start. At least
Yeah.
you tried something.
Yeah. I mean, I could film a podcast, we would have talked the whole time, and then I realized I didn't turn on the camera.
I fucking hope not.
No. That's why I was looking. I was like, the red light, is it on?
Red light's on.
So apparently that means they're going. So, but we've got a fail safe. We've got 3 of them on. So, but no, it's just, and even if that did happen at some point, I'm sure it will with someone else. You know, it's not the end of the world. It's a learning experience.
It's a learning curve as well.
It's an adventure, you know. So, and that's kind of what I want to kind of bring out in everyone, is that people can find inspiration from people, regardless. You know, we could have been here talking about, you could have been a teapot enthusiast.
Yeah.
And we could have talked about that and then gone on tangents around that. And again, it doesn't really matter.
Passion, creativity is everything.
It is. And
no matter what you're passionate about, if you're passionate about it and you can speak about it, people will listen to you.
Yeah, and I love that. Like, my brother's really into cars. I don't know much about cars, but I go to a car show with him sometimes, and it's great being there because he's pointing out, and I'm like, okay, tell me about this. And I love the whole childish wonderment of it, and I like asking silly questions because then he's able to just elaborate on it. But it happens with everyone. You pick up on it.
Find your thing.
Yeah.
And go 100% at that fucking thing.
Yeah, because it'll lead into areas that you didn't think.
That you never thought possible. I remember heading over to Boston now in a few weeks.
Oh yeah?
And
have you been before?
Yeah, well, we sent a stone over to Boston.
Oh yeah, okay.
That was great crack. Sent a stone over to, it's now the Boston lifting stone. They're lifting at all the Irish festivals over there.
Whereabouts do they keep it?
Keep it at my friend's house, Josh McIntosh.
Wow.
Keep it at his house. It's transported almost like a fucking venerated object to
For
all
the
these
festivals.
Celtic festivals, and all these men and women are coming just to lay their hands on a piece of Ireland.
Wow. And do people pick it up then as well?
If they want to pick it up, they can. But I've old men and old women who've never gotten to Ireland, who would go over and put their hands on it and put my hands on my country. They put their kids' feet on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, isn't that a beautiful thing to give someone?
Yeah. Oh, that camera went
That
off.
camera's gone. Sure, look, like I said, we got to draw the close of some stage.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. But this has been amazing.
Great
It's been
fucking chat.
it's
Thoroughly
been a great
enjoyed
chat.
it.
Yeah, and we'll do it again someday.
100%.
Like, you know, your book's coming out in May.
Book coming out in May.
Yeah.
And there'll be a big push on that. Bloomsbury are taking it on in Europe.
Yeah,
And
give a little
Chelsea
maybe
Green-
background on that if you want.
Chelsea Green are taking it out in America.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much going, I would say worldwide, but it's heading that way.
Yeah.
And very, very exciting times. And again, it's the story of the culture of my start to finish with it. It's almost like the Grail Diary, I suppose, in Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And I'm Indiana fucking Stones.
Yeah.
But it's like it's the Grail Diary of start to finish, and how I managed to find it, and where it is at the moment.
Unreal.
You know? So it's a great adventure story.
Yeah.
You know, for anyone who's into a bit of like an ordinary man swept along on an extraordinary adventure, and culture and everything that goes with it too. So I think it'll be a good read, and please God it'll be well received. You know?
Yeah, fantastic. No, I look forward to reading it, and no, again, appreciate it. Thank you very much.
And the Bob,
And we'll chat again.
no bother at all, man.
Thank you.
Sounds a bell.
All right.
I hear a call from an ancient land where the winds do blow all across the sand. Down by the shore, they'll lift the stone, a show of strength like men of old. Just like John Henry, it might take your life, send your soul to the other side. Oh, big stone lifted above their head, they'll still be lifted when we're all dead. Big stone lifted, get it off the ground, gotta show your strength.